be locked and loaded. Nobody safe around me. I'm about to spread.
Happy Monday morning, everybody. Hope you're having fantastic. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope you're looking forward to Monday. Got a productive day today, heading to the office, 9 o'clock meeting as a team. At the same time, if there's not a lot to talk about, then we'll shorten the meeting. Next is, hold on, I have my celery juice here. I'm gonna put that up here. I'll do the Crazy Asian podcast today, talking about leadership. Specifically, I want to go on the perspective from leadership is you have to know what you want. I think sometimes people become apologetic by what they want. No use in that. If you're a leader, know what you want. And then I have, I think there's a noon meeting, and then a 1 o'clock webinar, and then finally finish it off at 3. My last meeting of the day up in kind of northwest Houston, and let's go. Turns out. All right, morning everybody. Hope you're doing great. Had a good vlog there. Talked about leadership and that you should be unapologetic about what you like, and ultimately when it comes to being a leader with your organization, being able to not get stuck on the details of how they get the job done, just as long as they get the job done. Too often I hear about leaders that they hire people and then they basically tell them what to do, which defeats the purpose of hiring. You hire people with specific talents, specific skills, specific networks, and you allow them then to showcase that without micromanaging them. Micromanaging is death to an organization. It'll ruin the employee morale, and it defeats the purpose of hiring people. Then I was able to listen to some books on CD, some talks on just so you know, I listen to my content to not my content specifically, but what I'm listening to it to do 2 to 3 times the speed. Right now I'm at 2.4 times the speed. Remember, your mind, you can understand faster than 600 words per minute, but the average person speaks at like 140 to 220 words per minute. So a lot of times you might find yourself getting bored with the people because you already kind of know what they're going to be saying and how they're going to be saying it. And so it behooves us to be able to make sure that we're listening with good speed. So kind of cool out today. It's in the 40s. Perfect day for the 3-piece suit. I'll be running the front desk a little bit while our front desk person is still out, and let's go make it happen. Sherm's out. Hope you're doing well. All right, everybody. Had a great Monday. Hope everything's going really well. Had a good team meeting. Ended up just keeping it about 15 minutes. Talked about a different sales idea. Talked about the value of keeping track of numbers so you know exactly how your metrics are adding up and how they're being impactful. And then after that, had a nice one-on-one with one of the employees, one of the team members, about basically what's going well, what should we plan for, how can we move forward in a marketing standpoint. What came forth was the value that I see from a leader's perspective is what can I do to add value to them, specifically for that individual, especially as they're building out their book of business. And then a little bit of organization. Had a great phone call conversation with someone. He's going to come in tomorrow, hopefully get him back on pace, and then and join our organization. But we want people that are, growing and happy, not withering and dying. And then had a great conversation with a team that came down from kind of north of Houston, maybe about an hour and a half. So they were really appreciative. They loved the kickoff meeting from last week, and so we're super excited about getting things moving forward. And that was a very, very productive conversation. Then after that, basically had Doritos at the office for lunch, and then had a 1 o'clock call with the overall partner, and sharing with us the vision of 2019 and what he's excited about, and it aligns with where I'm headed. And then he and I had a one-on-one conversation just about the previous conversation with the team that was up from an hour and a half north of Houston, and also about the team member who wants to join our organization. talking about what he's about. And then he's my accountability partner for health. So I let him know that I ran 9 miles over on Saturday. So that was pretty exciting about that. Pretty pumped. And then it was getting things organized for that meeting tomorrow at 1:30. And then now we're headed over to 3 o'clock, which I am late for. It's 3:15. Turns out. Hey there, everybody. Hope you're having a fantastic now, the moment that you watch this. So had a great drive back from Houston, dealing with the traffic. It was spectacular. And so one of the things I just want to talk about was setting up strategic partnerships. I think a lot of times people, when they want to network, they don't necessarily know how to once they've met somebody. So here's my approach to it: is at the moment that I've met somebody, I'm going to put their data into my contact management system. Once I get back to the office, I'm going to shoot them a LinkedIn to get connected digitally, and then I'm also going to be able to reach out to them via email or a phone call to set up a meeting one-on-one to be able to get to know them a little bit more about how I can be of value to them. And then the moment that they've responded back, then it's an opportunity for us to be able to see where we can take that relationship. And so when I sit down with that person one-on-one, I'm trying to identify how can I ultimately help this person? How can I help them get to where they want to go? What's my ultimate value to them? So that way, I'm thinking about what's my value add to them and taking my network to the next level. Sherman's out. All right there, everybody. Hope you're doing great. So for me, I turn my drive time into learning time. For me, it's an opportunity in my drive. Typically, I'll reach out to people, that phone calls that need to be made, and then the other thing that I'll do, especially in the morning, because I'll usually be driving around 6:15, 6:30 to the office. It's an opportunity for me to get my spiritual learning on, to get my mind straight, to connect with what I consider to be more important than what I'm doing in the temporal things. So I think a lot of times for people, they can make better use of their drive time. I think the average American spends like an hour and 10 minutes or an hour and 20 minutes in a commute on a daily basis. So that's just a huge opportunity for us to be able to make good use out of that time, even if it's just one day a week. I know other people that they don't listen to the radio from 7 to 7, so that way they can put in good things or just thinking about what's at task. So I think sometimes quiet time is a great time in that drive time. So the question that you should ask yourself is, how are you taking advantage of your drive time? Sherman's out.
Locked and loaded. Nobody safe around me. I'm about to spread, I'm rowdy. Wipe it up, run it up, count it up. Ice on my wrist, I'm